This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Susan, I'll just do some introductions. Kathleen and Regina are also moderators. They're involved with Stop Sarcoidosis, or the FSR, Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research. That's kind of our, they're trying to find cures and do grants and support patients. And they also have a network of recognized sarcoidosis clinics. And that means they have people that understand sarcoidosis and treat hopefully more holistically, just to help people find out where to go. So that's been a good group to work with, and they're both heavily involved with patient advocacy and spreading the good word. So with that, we'll get started. So Susan, just for everyone's benefit, how long have you had sarcoidosis, and how did they find it?
My diagnosis was in July, but I think after my second VTAC, sustained VTAC in June, it was evident that I had it. And I had the MRI and the PET scan in July. I first saw a cardiologist in December, and he just put in a pacemaker and gave me some heart failure medication, and that really wasn't, that was a Band-Aid. That wasn't, So, yeah, it's been.
Did they put you on anything for the inflammation?
I did start a few weeks ago prednisone. I'm on 30 milligrams a day, and I'm on really high, powerful medicines to prevent VTAC. It's just really disillusioning because this time last year I wasn't taking anything. I was just
That's
like,
part of the total mind F, if you would. Like, that was something I worked with my counselor for months on. Like, I just had this feeling, like, I couldn't put my finger on it. And after talking through it, it was the loss of the future that I was living into. Like, I was planning my retirement, moving to Florida, this and that, and I was like, whack, and it's all falling apart. Like, now I'm on disability. What does that mean? So it was a real mental knock or insult or assault to, like, all of a sudden be a sick person.
yeah.
But I never really had any illness before that. So he called it ambiguous loss, was the technical term for it. It's just like that nagging, you lost something, you can't put your finger on. Mm-hmm. So that's what I got out of it. It's hard in the beginning. And you've only been aware of it for 2 months? Since July of this year?
Yeah, it was just diagnosed this year.
Wow. Other than prednisone and amiodarone, what other medications are you on?
I'm on a beta blocker, metoprolol, and Farxiga. I can't tolerate any more heart failure medication because my blood pressure is naturally really low. So, and those medications take down your blood pressure. I see the heart failure specialist tomorrow at MedStar Washington Hospital, and I'll see what the next step is. It might just be prednisone for several months before, and do another PET scan. I don't know. I don't know what the procedure, what the plan of action is. I'm eager to find out. Prednisone is okay. I can tolerate it okay. I think because I'm on so much amiodarone for the arrhythmia, they counteract each other. Like Prednisone,
you're not getting amped up from the prednisone, right?
yeah, one jacks up your appetite and the other one suppresses your appetite. So the two cancel each other out with that symptom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was fine with most people eat a lot on prednisone. I had the hunger, but I was getting I was starting an elimination diet and doing some research on how large a portion you should be eating, things like that. So I didn't eat to satisfy my hunger. I was eating because I needed nutrition, and I would stop eating when I ate enough food, as opposed to when my hunger was satiated. And I was able to get through it that way. I actually lost a lot of weight on prednisone,
Mm.
which is unusual. I also
You
lost my
are.
mind, which is kind of unfortunate.
I don't think you heard me, Kevin. I said you are unusual.
Oh yeah. Um,
I think only strong people get sarcoidosis or some other nasty stuff. Even when we feel low, we still push through, don't we?
yep.
Susan,
Do
where
you
are
have
you?
any questions for the group? I know we talked a little bit about nutrition earlier. I
Um,
know it's still
uh,
early.
I guess, since I have isolated cardiac sarcoidosis, I'm always interested to know how many people have cardiac sarcoidosis when I'm in a group like this.
Cardiac.
Cardiac sarc, anybody else? No, just the three of us?
Go on.
Three yes, three
My top row.
no.
So for the record, I've never met anyone in person that also had cardiac sarcoidosis. I've never met anyone that had sarcoidosis. I just met someone that knew someone that had sarcoidosis.
Well, Regina and I will come visit you, okay, Kevin?
Door's always open.
Road
A little
trip.
warm here right now.
We'll go after hurricane season.
Now, you know I love a road trip, so.
I'm down in like December, January. It's beautiful down here.
Well, don't tempt us.
Welcome, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
Hi, everybody.
I'm sorry, Susan, where are you from?
Rockville, Maryland.
Oh, okay, so you're in Maryland.
Go ahead and get your water.
In Sheila's backyard.
I'm on Long Island, guys, New York.
Oh, God.
It was really hurting.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Wow, I'm sorry. I'm at work and I muted my phone. I was giving my clients their medication. Yeah, so I just came back in here on the couch, but yeah. So, I mean, I can be open at, the insurance that I have,
Hmm.
only allows me to go to, their providers, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So I have Kaiser, and I only can go to their doctor. So I don't know if I could use, like, maybe go to Hopkins and see if somebody will see me, because every time I go to my providers or whatever, they they never see anything. They have CAT scans. I had one, two of them earlier this year, a couple last year, and my question is, like, just why am I in so much pain? And does sarcoidosis only affect the heart and the lungs? And I see people on Facebook, I get little lesions on my skin sometimes. I got a little bump on my nose that never went away. And I be seeing a lot of stuff, even though I don't comment, but I'm just looking like this is under an umbrella of different symptoms.
Yes. So sarcoidosis can get anywhere your immune system goes, which is anywhere in your body except your fingernails and your hair.
Okay.
So wherever it shows up, they call it that type of sarcoidosis, like cardiac sarcoidosis,
Mhm.
pulmonary sarcoidosis. You can get it on your skin, you can get it in your eyes, you can get it in your liver, kidney, spleen, muscles, nervous system, neurosarc. So it can move around and affect
Wow.
different areas over time. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
Sheila, do you have it primarily in your lungs? Have they found it
Um,
anywhere
I
else?
I had issues with my lungs. Sometimes my neck will start hurting, and down the left side of my back. I have a lot of those, and but when I go, they say they see small nodules or lymph nodes, and just send me home. I usually take they'll give me I guess that's the 7-day regimen of the prednisone. Take 6 or 7, then take 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that usually clears it up. But then I hear you guys talking about holistic, and I've been looking on a lot of information about plant-based um, foods. I don't know. I'm just trying to be a little bit more proactive because to me, it seemed like my symptoms in these episodes are getting closer and closer together.
So I would definitely recommend food as medicine. So if you look at like an anti-inflammatory diet, that's an official term, has
Hmm.
a whole list of foods that they recommend. Mediterranean diet is good. It's got a lot of vegetables and olive oil and things like that. Um, yeah, definitely not food because if you're eating a lot of packaged food, processed food, that tends to be inflammatory, and
Hmm.
it's just going to feed the fire. So you got
Wow.
to remove that insult, that whatever substance is setting you off, uh,
Hmm.
and it helps to just calm your system and let it do its thing.
Oh,
That's my observation.
okay. Mm.
Sheila,
Yes.
did you get my email and my phone number? Because I believe I can work with this with Kaiser Insurance with the FSR, and we can see if we can find you some doctors.
Okay. Did you put it back in the chat box again?
I
Oh,
did.
oh.
Okay, so just make sure you take those down. This way I can try and help you find doctors with the Kaiser Insurance in Maryland. Okay?
Hmm. Okay. Thank you so much. I was in
Any,
so much pain last night. I haven't eaten anything in 2 days, and I don't know what's going on with my stomach and my back. But they had to give me a liquid IV. They gave me some pain medication, and it only worked for last night. So it's still here. And he gave me a prescription for ibuprofen 600. So I went to Panera, got me a nice cup of hot chicken noodle soup, and forced myself to eat half of that so I could take the pill. And I just finished up the rest. And now I'm drinking water because they did the CAT scan with the dye. So they told me to drink like 8 bottles of water. I'm on my third bottle. So
good. We'll get you some doctors. This way you can start hitting the ground running. Okay?
thank you so much. Thank you.
Anytime. Anytime.
And also Sheila and Kathleen, hi, Alexa and Can Foundation, for those who don't know me. I'm with the larger foundation. And I came tonight because I missed the Sarkeys and I wanted to join. I asked Rick if I could come instead. So I'm here. So I deal with a lot of oncology-based groups, and so I deal with a lot of Kaiser. And so, Sheila, I also want to give you hope that if nothing works out in the Kaiser system, you can appeal Kaiser and go elsewhere, and they will pay for it in an appeals process. So, if, for example, say, like Kathleen's going to start in the Kaiser system, but let's say things aren't going well. I don't want you to feel like that's your only option, okay? Because I can tell you, I've had several people in the Kaiser system with like rare cancers or other things where you can start an appeals process and where they can pay for it. You can go get a second opinion outside of Kaiser, like Johns Hopkins and other places, and they will pay for it. And we've helped several other people do that. And it's doable. So I want to encourage you, there's several other options. So you got a lot of help here.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alexa. If I need more help beyond
Of
Kaiser,
course.
I'll reach out to you. Thank you. It's good to know, guys.
I was worth the price of admission.
Yes. See, we always learn something new, don't we?
How's Abby doing today?
You took those words right out of my mouth.
Sorry, I'm just really tired. I've been going to like group therapy, not for sarcoidosis. I mean, it could be, I guess, technically, but it's like a group therapy to help with mental health. And it's 3 hours long. I'm so tired.
Oh,
So I'm listening to everybody. I'm sorry if I don't look interested. I am. I'm just tired.
mentally fatigued. 3 hour group session. Wow. Is it helping?
Yeah, it's called IOP, Intensive Outpatient Program, and it's mostly because I'm still struggling with like my body dysphoria after my surgery. I had to Sheila said it too that she got a biopsy. I got a VAT, so I had to have my right lung removed because it was all fibrosis. So they removed the scarring because I couldn't breathe and then biopsied it. So that's how I diagnosed. But I'm still struggling like mentally with that. So that's why I've been going to the intensive groups for people who have like similar intense struggles that 1 hour a week, 1 day a week's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. It's good. Taking care of your mental health is just as important.
So, Amy, where are you from, if you don't mind my asking?
I don't mind. And I found you all through the cardiac sarcoidosis Facebook group. I don't know if somebody here posted it. But
Hey, Kathleen,
thanks, Kathleen. And I
is this
thought,
your
why
first
not?
meeting?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Is this your first time on these calls?
Yeah, it's my first time talking to anyone with sarcoid. Um,
Yeah,
so,
no.
so that's kind of nice to, and I've appreciated the Facebook group because I've learned a lot by seeing others that have gone, years before me and learning what I should be asking my doctors. So I live in North Carolina, and I was diagnosed late last year because I had a series of heart attacks. The first couple ones I didn't know were heart attacks, and because I'm 50 years old, I considered it a midlife crisis panic attack. Life is crazy. But the last one, I was like, nope, there's something wrong with me. And I told my husband, you've got to take me to the emergency room. So then it started down the path of them thinking all the normal things that are typically wrong with someone's heart, like blockage. Um, so I did all those tests and had an MRI and then had significant scarring that was revealed during the MRI. And then followed up with a PET scan, and I have um, a lot of active inflammation. So that's that's kind of where I was late last year. Still on prednisone, you can tell from my face. I'm on it. And
Okay.
yeah, it's my real face is under there somewhere. Um, and had a PET scan late in the spring. Still, the inflammation's still there, so the prednisone wasn't working, which we kind of hoped, of course. And
What did they
now
start you out on?
they started me on 20 while they were trying to get the diagnosis, and all of it happened like one was my heart attack, the bad one, day before Thanksgiving. PET scan the day after Christmas, so there was a little time there while they were, getting me in for tests during the holidays. So I had 20 milligrams that month, and then on 40. And then in the spring, went on, got an ICD implanted, went on,
Mhm.
yeah. Although I have a new kind, I have a brand new kind. I don't know if y'all know about it, but in case anyone that needs an ICD, it's not a pacemaker kind. It's sits on the side of my rib cage. The device is implanted there, and then it goes around and up underneath my sternum. So it doesn't pace me. It just will shock me if I need it to. And
Okay.
the EP
And
said
is it external or is it internal still?
it's internal. It's new from Medtronic. It was approved by the FDA late last October. I was the fourth person in the state to receive it in
Wow.
North Carolina. So, and my EP electrophysiologist said, somewhere down the road you're probably going to need pacing, but given that you're at that point I was 49, I just turned 50 this year, but so given your age, we'll and that you don't need pacing now, we will put this in, and then down the road probably you'll have the more typical kind. So,
Well, I
um,
think they need to replace the computer, not the wires will stay there.
yeah, but he said I might need pacing down the road. So,
Right, right. It's probably
but
a new device.
but and I guess technically it does a little bit of pacing because it'll try to pace me out of a VT or something like that if it can. So before it shocks me. And if I'm talking too much, let me know if y'all need.
No, we're
Okay.
good.
Um, and then what else happened? On methotrexate, I give myself weekly injections. I got Humira approved through my insurance. And then I went on that, and then I instantly got shingles about a month later, so I had to go off of everything. Um, and that's kind of subsided, so now I'm on the antivirals to keep the shingles at bay, and just getting back to methotrexate and Humira. So hopefully that'll get rid of the inflammation because it was hard to hear that it was still there when they did the follow-up PET scan. So
Amy, can I ask you a question?
sure.
Um, how much time lapsed between the first PET scan and the second PET scan?
That's a good question. It was probably about 4.5 months that they did it.
I had my first one in April, second one in September, and third one in December of 2020. So the first one was like, oh, you got it. There it is. Second one, we got about maybe a 50% reduction, but you could still actively see it. And then the third one, it was clear. That was by December. Good 6 months of 40 milligrams prednisone with self-check. And then I tapered off the prednisone over probably 6 months. So I was dropping at 5, dropping at 5, dropping at 2.5, 2.5 for 2 weeks, and then when I got down below 20, it was real slow. So you can't just turn that stuff off. You
Hmm.
gotta slowly wean off of it.
So so Kathleen, you have cardiac.
She's got it all. She's our special one.
Yeah, I'm
You have a question?
sorry. Yeah, I'm special. I pretty much have it everywhere. So it first manifested in my skin on my left calf. Had a double punch biopsy. They had no idea, but the second one had a parentheses, possible sarcoidosis. That set me for a CAT scan with contrast, MRI, and then PET scan. So at this time, I don't know when I was formally diagnosed. Maybe 18 years ago, 15 years ago.
That gives me hope, actually.
Yes, 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 yes. No, no, everybody, you can live with this, even though you don't want to sometimes. But, because I got that, and then I got small fiber neuropathy, autonomic neuropathy, the connective tissue disease, severe RA. So it just kept leveling, if that makes sense. So finally at about I finally have a good team of doctors. I have a doctor for every part of my body, not even joking. So that's 23 doctors, not including my psychiatric doctor. We have 24. My dad's got 10, so he's 92, so I got to drive him around. But at this point, the only place my sarcoidosis is not, to their knowledge, is spleen and eyes. I have it everywhere else, guys. Okay, so you can live with this. Regina will tell you I sometimes push myself too far, where I should just give up and just lay down on the floor. But you know what? I have this house. My son's, this is mainly for Regina and Kevin. Matthew's finally getting married May 15th next year. Yay! So my son's been engaged. We went to Paris and did the whole 9 years. But anyway, so you can live with it even if you don't want to. The pain is real. I also have a pain doctor. Okay, so that's 25. But I finally have a good system, and most of my doctors is near Maryland. I go to New York City to Mount Sinai doctors. And I just found out from my husband that my Aetna insurance is in talks with Mount Sinai, and Mount Sinai might dump them. So that means I need to find podiatrist too. I got my feet problem. So that means my podiatrist, my pain doctor, neurologist, electrophysiologist, and pulmonologist will all be gone, and I need to find a whole new one. So the struggle is real for all of us. That's why, Sheila, I totally understand, when you're locked into something, I also do advocating in the government. So, yeah, it's a lot. And I am on disability. I received disability in 2020, and I did get an attorney. And the attorney does work over lines if anybody ever wants any. I don't get anything for it, but, I know they're good. Was that fast enough? Sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
Kathleen, you live in Maryland?
I live on Long Island, New York, but
Oh,
I was speaking mainly to Sheila, and who else was Maryland?
Susan.
I thought somebody else was. You
just
are?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, so I'm not that far. If you need help with doctors, I'm also an advocate for the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research, as Regina is. Regina, they hooked me. I'm gonna be a navigator. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. So the FSR really does good things. If you guys are not part of the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research, you should look it up. They really have some good programs. They also have a support group. You're welcome here every month. But if you feel like you need more support, we're usually over there too. So, no, so Susan, mainly I was speaking to Sheila because I do know of Johns Hopkins, and I know doctors there that are absolutely fantastic with sarcoidosis, and I know they have a sarcoidosis clinic. I landed in Cleveland because the FSR was doing training in Cleveland. So I called one phone call, started it all. I saw all the doctors there. So I will continue there because I like the way they do it. I didn't try Johns Hopkins, but from what I hear, they're as fantastic as Cleveland is. Any other
I
questions?
haven't been to Johns Hopkins, but I've dropped in on some of their support groups, and they were always really good. They bring doctors to the support group. You have Q&A.
Yep.
It was really helpful early on.
Each of the hospitals that have sarcoidosis clinics around the United States, so Johns Hopkins, I'll just use Mount Sinai as a second example, they all have support groups as well. So, and as Kevin said, they bring in doctors. They're not preaching to you. They're telling you what are the questions that you should ask your doctors and what really matters. Here is a peer-to-peer, so we can tell you how we do it, or what goes on in our bodies, and what we've done about it. But each of us is different. So I hope you all know that it is a snowflake disease, and that means no two of us are alike. That's why it's called the snowflake. We may be similar, but definitely not the same.
Did you go to Cleveland right away? Because that's I'm going to our local hospital, which I'm getting great care. I think they're very attentive, but it's not obviously a center, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm on that debate of like, at what point do I push,
Yeah.
right? And I know there's a timeline where I have to allow, because our bodies are all different, I
Hmm.
have to allow, the experiment of, will this combination of meds work? Will that combination of meds work? And
Hmm.
because I stay on the Facebook group, I do learn a lot from everybody else and know what to ask and advocate for myself. But, at some point, are you better off going to a center of excellence or?
So I'll answer that as almost a two parts. But when I was first diagnosed, I was in my 40s, so it's almost 20 years. I drove to the Cleveland Clinic. So yes, I did
Okay,
see
you went.
almost at the beginning. However, I felt at that time that Cleveland Clinic was not as attentive as Mount Sinai was. But then Mount Sinai, they lost Dr. Tierenstein, who I absolutely loved. He unfortunately passed away at his desk. And the gentleman who was his protege and still learning stepped up to the plate. And was not very pleasant at all. He did not have a bedside manner. There was no empathy, no caring. This is what it is. I told you you're going on prednisone and you're going on oxygen. It's not, a question, or why are you questioning me? So because of that, I took a step back once again and I found locals. When I started getting really bad again, I went back to Mount Sinai. That same doctor I see now, and he has empathy, caring, and concern 20 years later. So they got to grow up. And as I said, I was going to Cleveland anyway. So what's what was I there? An extra 3 days, Regina? I think, right? Maybe another 3 days. Now, we haven't seen each other in person for a long time, so I put it up on Facebook that I was going to be in Cleveland outside of the FSR during these days. And uh, Regina's like, yeah, well, we're going to do something. And I was like, well, how far away are you? And she's like, 4 hours. I said, I don't have a car. She goes, don't worry, I'm going to drive to you. So she drove to me. We spent 4 hours, really good time together. So that's another thought for anybody who's traveling. Put it up on your Facebook. Hey, anybody in the local area to do lunch? You'll finally get to meet somebody. So yes, I'm going back to the Cleveland Clinic beginning of September to get my PET scan. Uh, my the doctor here at Mount Sinai said I don't need it. I reiterated that to Cleveland Clinic. Cleveland Clinic says we're looking to have a baseline for you here. They know everything. And she's like, don't worry, we're going to catch it all in your body. I said, well, I really don't want to know, so don't tell me. But that's why I'm going back to, and they had a really good answer. It really made sense. So I got airfare too for $68 round trip this time. So I'm happy. So I'm going. Does that answer your question, Amy? I've
It does. It does. And I guess you'll just know if I'll know if it's time for me to move on to another.
I'll tell you my experience. Like
We
when
have
I was
three
first
people.
diagnosed, it was pulmonary, and I saw a pulmonologist, not a Sarc clinic. He had heard of it, never treated anyone with it, and didn't have to because I didn't need anything. When I had my motor vehicle accident, I had a flare up. It got in my heart. I was not well, both mentally and physically. That's when I went to Jefferson as a sarcoidosis center of excellence and said, listen, take care of me. And they did for 3 years. And then I moved to Florida. My flare-up's over. I'm doing better, and I'm not seeing anyone in a sarcoidosis clinic now. But I'm much more attuned to like the warning signs, and you know, if something were to happen and it went sideways again, I'm on probably a plane to Cleveland is where I would go.
And how do y'all like get clear? Like, is it the inflammation? Is it the scarring in the heart? Like, I have all the symptoms of, a myriad of horrible feelings all day long. But like, is it the medications they put me on? Is it like, over time, do you start to understand what that is in your body? Like you said, Kevin, like, I'll know if I'm starting to flare up again or not. I guess I'm just struggling with not knowing where the dizziness or the lightheadedness or the tiredness and
Right.
all of it coming from, right? Or, I mean,
This is a problem we face all the time. Like, oh, my neck hurts. Is it sarcoidosis, or did I strain myself, or like, my stomach doesn't feel well, or anything that presents outside the ordinary. My mind always goes to sarcoidosis first, even though more than half the time it's nothing. So you just gotta listen to your body and keep advocating for yourself. And I would say you'll know when it's time to go. If
okay.
you're not comfortable advocating or making decisions, then turn it over to somebody that's gonna take care of your whole body and mind.
Amy, I have a question for you. How long have you been getting like medication and treatment? How long has it been?
Since late December last year.
And
So
the inflammation is still there?
8 months. It was still there and it hadn't improved. It was still there like mid-April.
What I will say is I asked Kevin the same thing. I was like, if I always feel awful, how do I know? Like, what is it like to feel normal? I don't know. I always feel awful. And actually what helped is the blood test will tell you when the inflammation starts to go down, you'll start to feel a little bit better, and it eases the confusion a little bit. When the inflammation actually starts to go down, you can actually bend your fingers again. And
Okay.
do you know what I mean? When you start to feel better and then you start to feel worse, then you know. Does that make sense? But if you're just constantly feeling bad and nothing's really changed, I completely understand your confusion. I've only been treated for, mine was last year in July was my lung surgery when I got diagnosed. So I was in the same boat as you. I'm like, how do I know what's what? I'm confused. So that's what I would say, if that helps.
It does. It really does. Because you're just a few months ahead of me on your, right, on
Yeah,
your
You have
medication
to
some of
start
and
to
all of
feel
that.
better. Yeah, you got to start to feel better before you realize when you start feeling worse.
Okay.
Yep. So one of the things I did on the journey was an elimination diet, where dairy, red meat, getting rid of things that might be setting you off, and you're eating just clean vegetables, simple food, and you start to feel better, and then you go, okay, well, I'm gonna have dairy back, and then you feel bad, like, okay, that's one of your triggers, like, stay away from it. You can live without creamer in your coffee. So things like
No.
that can happen, can help.
I gave up, y'all, I gave up caffeine and alcohol as soon as it all happened. So I'm, I can give up other stuff.
Yep. To feel better, there's a lot of things you can do. All
Yeah.
right, we've got another half hour left. I'd like to get to some other people. We got 3 new people who've come in since we started
We
the
got
call.
3 new people, and then I just wanted to let everybody know, because I hadn't told my story. I've been waiting for everybody to get through their conversation. But I want the other 3 people to go first. We
All
have
right, JB, are you on the call? You want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
I don't don't know. Wait a minute. I think mm, JB.
JB Thomas?
Oh
Thompson?
no.
How about you, Z? How are you doing tonight? Welcome to our call.
What happened? Yeah.
You have to unmute, Z.
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
You
We
There you
can't
can't.
hear
are.
you.
No.
Maybe he gotta turn. Oh,
Sometimes if you leave and come back, it will fix it. It'll fix it most times. So just leave, come back. Yep.
And caller one, are you on the line? Caller one? Going one?
I'm not sure if I'm caller one. Can you hear me?
There you are. Hi.
I didn't know. I dialed in on the number, so it
Okay.
didn't ask for any type of information. But my name's Maria. How are you?
Good, Maria.
So I started. I think it's been 2 years now, but it took a year to diagnose my sarcoidosis. That started with a weird feeling in my chest and a loss of appetite, and no doctors were listening until, because of the loss of appetite, I lost a whole bunch of weight, and they were like, "Oh God, it's cancer." Um, and then we looked at some other parts of my body, and during one of my pre-op testing, the chest X-ray showed something in my chest, and then they went on. So I got treated for a completely unrelated condition, and then they saw something on my chest, and finally I was diagnosed. And
So
then
besides your lung, where else do you have it?
yeah. So then I have the inflammation. So part of it started even before. I kept feeling like I was getting gout in different places, my
Yep.
elbow, my wrist. But it wasn't gout. Now we know they're just inflammation attacks that I get in my joints. So now
Yep.
instead of going to urgent care, I'll just take some anti-inflammatories because it's a waste going, and they're just not. They just give you any diagnosis, even though it's related. So now when I call them attacks. I'll just, if it's really bad, I'll go back on the steroid. But if it's otherwise, I'll treat it with anti-inflammatory.
Are you self-treating then? Are you directing your
In
own
in a
treatment?
sense, I'm self-treating. When it gets, I meet with my pulmonologist every 6 months, and I do the whole series of tests, CAT scan, EKG, blood work. So I have a visit actually coming up next week, but so far so good. I think I'm in a steady state. I know I do have the inflammation attacks, but I also have an inhaler, but I haven't had anything truly bad with the breathing. I do use my inhaler though if I do get I feel like I get extra fluid in my lungs. And I'll treat with my inhaler. Um,
Hmm.
I think I'm at a semi-steady state. I just know when the attacks come or the flares,
Yep.
um, instead of going to the emergency room in the urgent care, I'll go ahead and try to self-treat or call my
Right.
doctor if there's any other.
Just hit it with some prednisone for a while and see if it subsides.
Yeah, the
Just
prednisone actually is like catch-22, right? I love the
oh
energy.
yeah. Short term.
Yeah.
How long were you on
But,
prednisone when you first found out you had it?
about a half a year. Yeah, and then I weaned down. I probably weaned off a little too fast, but I weaned off. Still on a low dose. I think I started at maybe 20 milligrams and then down to 10 and 5. Um, so, and my friends said they saw the moon phase. I didn't see it, but I worked extra hard not to gain any weight. I was up exercising every morning, which was kind of cool, and tried not to eat when I was starving.
Yep.
Yeah, I tried to manage
Get
it.
the right amount of nutrition, not what your mind's telling your body to do.
Right. So
Um,
that's it.
so how did you find out about the group?
There's another group on Facebook. There's two groups I'm a member of on Facebook, and they posted a link.
So if you'd like to get a reminder email every month with a link,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you can do it if you're calling in, but
No, but I'll sign up and I'll try to do the GoToMeet. I'll do it that way.
yeah, if you come in through a computer or your GoToMeeting app on your phone, you can get your email in there, and we can send you a reminder email every month.
Okay, and then I'll be more than just caller one.
No, we changed you to Maria.
Okay.
And that's for anybody who's new. If you could put your email into the chat, it goes right to ANCAN Foundation. Miss Alexa makes sure that everybody receives a notice that we'll be having a meeting.
Which is the second Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock. Just in case you forget. Z, can we hear you now?
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool.
In
All
technology.
right. Yeah, technology something. If you guys are wanting a pretty wild story, it's coming up here in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. About 5 years ago, I was I work at Ford truck plant here in Kentucky, build the Super Duties, and I was on the line and had cardiac arrest, and nurses saved me, got to the hospital. Had a life vest on, got shocked, had ICD surgery for a while. I got stage 3 heart failure. And then started having a lot of VTAC and shocks. And then I'm followed at UK, University of Kentucky. And so I had another one replaced, another lead replaced into my heart. Had I've had a 10-hour ablation surgery, transplant evaluation, a lot of stuff. Been shocked driving, shocked sitting, you know. Anyway, finally last year in the fall, did a PET scan and found the inflammation on my heart. So it was sarcoid, and it started in my heart. So I got the scarring on my heart. It's all the way through the muscle in several different places. And then April, I was in remission from my heart, but then it had spread to my right lung. And so now I've been on prednisone since last November, and I started methotrexate 4 weeks ago, I think. And probably either do the infusions or the CellCept. Don't know which one yet, but so just working on trying to get my lungs squared away, which I feel a lot better. I mean, I'm not on medical right now, so um, I'm still able to work. It's but I can tell some of y'all are pretty bright red like I am in here. Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah, they call me Rudolph at work. I light it up.
What level of prednisone are you on right now?
5 milligram.
Down to 5. What was your
And then
peak?
I'm sorry.
What was your peak? Your maximum? Is it 240?
Um, Yeah, I was at 40 and then dropped down and did that for a while, and then I'll eventually get to I think 15 milligrams of methotrexate. I think I'm on 2.5 right now.
We're gonna titrate you up and try and get you off the prednisone.
Yeah, that's what I think they're doing, and then maybe switch over to instead of prednisone, do the Cellcept or maybe infusions, but they won't
I tried
do that.
methotrexate after I got diagnosed with cardiac sarcoidosis. It did not like my liver, or my liver did not like it. So I just stopped that, and I ended up on Cellcept for about 3 years. And I was able
Okay.
to wean myself off of it, um, and get off all my medication after, I guess, about 3.5 years, which is a sign of hope. Not everybody has the same success, but it is possible.
Yeah, so let me ask you, since you're cardiac as well, are you needing eventually a transplant, or are you?
No, they, um, so I had a motor vehicle accident in January of 2020. 3 days later, I was in the emergency department in AFib, and they're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I had an accident. I have sarcoidosis." Like, "No, no, no. Do you drink?" I'm like, "I'm Irish. Cocktail now and again." Like, I'm like, "I don't think that's it." Like, I had cocktails my whole life, and riding up and down the trail, never a heart issue. In the 10 years that I had it in my lungs, and then immediately after the accident, it was full blown cardiac sarcoidosis. So I believe, because they found it, my ejection fraction had dropped to about 35%,
Yeah,
which 30 I think is the cutoff for heart transplant.
yeah,
So my cardiologist was in the transplant center. I'm like, what? Hey, I was a healthy guy 3 months ago. What's going on?
yeah.
But after they hit it with prednisone and the Cellcept, the ejection fraction recovered to about 48, 50%.
Oh, well, there you go. That's good.
So it was like, there's more evidence that it was directly related to the accident, because it got in, caused the problem, and the prednisone got it out, and there's still some scarring in there they can see, but it is what it is. You know, um, I've got as much health as I could possibly hope for after the shit that went down in 2020.
Oh, hell yeah. Mine started at 19, and I think I've been at 15 to 20%, and then I got up to like around 25. But
Okay.
like I said, it's been going on 5 years, so
Are you
I
doing
don't
any
expect.
kind of cardio conditioning?
I've done rehab 3 different times, and I like it. But I work on the assembly line, so I actually about 10 to 12,000 steps in each day,
Yep.
walking on my job. So I stay pretty active during the week.
Well, that's good. Do you have any fatigue?
Oh yeah, every day.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the party. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I itch all the damn time, everywhere. Um, Fatigue, dizzy, lightheaded. It's hard to see certain blurred vision. Um, Sometimes you just want to lay there, don't want to do nothing.
Right.
But lately, I've been doing pretty good. I even started my own barbecue business, so
There
um,
you
yeah. So I mean, it's not easy, but I feel like if you stay active, it hurts, but it's easier and it's a better hurt. You know what I mean?
go. It's better than sitting there and dwelling on it, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Cool move.
That's what I try to do.
We all do.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
Yep.
Sometimes that couch calls your name and you just got to be there.
Well, I just woke up from a nap before I got on here on this call because I'm taking care of my mother because she's sick. You know, she got heart conditions too. So I took a 2 hour nap. It was that song say, I took a nap.
Yeah. Have you ever
And,
tried yoga nidra?
hmm?
Have you ever tried yoga nidra?
Never heard of it.
It's a meditation technique. It's called guided meditation. And you go to YouTube, you look up yoga nidra. I can send you a link to my favorite yogi. And you just sit there, close your eyes, get comfortable, and they tell you to think about different parts of your body, like your hand, your wrist, your thumb, your finger, and you're using your mind, your nervous system, and guiding your thoughts through your whole body. And after 30 minutes, it's like getting 4 hours of deep sleep,
Mm.
and you're not sleeping.
Hmm.
But you're deeply rested,
I think
and
you
it's
need
really
to.
good for calming your nerves, calming your body, and it's like a massage for your nervous system.
Well, send me that link because
Me
I
too.
know it may make me feel like I'm asleep, but send me that link.
On it. Just carry the conversation for a hot second, and I will post it.
Well, Regina, you wanted to chit chat? Let's.
Well, I think I'm probably the only person on here who has sarcoid for the longest. I've had it for 30 years. I was diagnosed in 1994 at the time when it was called a medical mystery, literally. No one knew what to do for it. No one knew anything about it. But I happened to have a doctor right here in my hometown who knew little about it, but knew something about it. So all back then during that time, it was nothing but steroids at that time. So most of my time I'd been on steroids, but steroids also almost killed me a few years ago. So I can no longer take steroids. And it put me in the hospital. And so that time, which was in 2019, I was fighting for my life. And I've been on almost every treatment protocol that there has been since I've had sarcoid for 30 years. I am now on Remicade and Celsep. Um, I'm off of everything else. I'm off of steroids, which I can never take. I can never take methotrexate, hydrochloroquine. I can never take that. All that stuff took my hair out. I'm one of those special people. So I'm Remicade and Celsep is doing really, really great for me. I'm on gabapentin. I have sarcoid in my lungs, is where it started. I have it in my skin. I was thinking about Sheila when she said she had those things all on her nose and stuff. I was thinking about her, which is called lupus pernio. I had that. I had it on my nose and on my mouth. I had plastic surgery to have all of those removed. I had the nodules all on my legs. Those are being maintained. I don't have any of that anymore. But if I get off of the medication that I'm on, they will pop up. I have sarcoid in my joints. I have neural sarc. So I'm basically a chronic person. I'm almost like Kathleen. Almost. I'm almost there. Um,
It's not a competition.
no, it's not. But
The prize is more sharp.
yes, I'm almost there. But I have gut issues galore. But it was crazy because they thought I had GERD all these years, and then when I started taking the Remicade, Lord knows my gut issues went away. So that's how we knew something. Things go into started to align with each other. And the first thing the doctor that was here said, "Did you have a brain scan?" And I'm like, "No." And why? He said, "Because the brain it's what regulates everything, and they need to figure out what was going on. So I went and had a brain scan, and I have a lot of white matter in my brain. So that lets me know something was not, clicking in my in my brain. Something was happening in my brain. But anyway, I sent all that stuff to Cleveland Clinic. I used to have my doctors in Cleveland Clinic. But because I was forcibly retired this past year, I had to switch all of my insurance over, all of my medical records over to here in town because all of my doctors were in Cleveland Clinic. I lost all of those doctors.
Oh.
I had to get new doctors. So what I did is I planned and figured out how I'm going to get my doctors. So I went back in my old records. I found my old doctor who diagnosed me 30 years ago. I found him. He was still working. I remembered an article from back in 2018 that a doctor here in town wind up getting cardiac sarc. I don't have cardiac sarc, but just in case that I do get it, I wanted that doctor. So I picked him up. I chose my dermatologist knows a whole lot about sarcoidosis, so I kept him. I've had him all this time. He knew a lot about it, so I kept him. He's also the one that administers my Remicade and my Remicade. So I picked him. So I pick and choose all of my doctors. So I feel a little bit better with the few doctors that I have. And I'm not even 65 yet. So I gotta, kind of keep what I have for now until I turn 65, which won't be for another 2 years. And then I'm going to go back to the Cleveland Clinic because I need that clinic. I need those clinic doctors to help me maintain and continue on with my journey of staying as healthy as I possibly can. But I'll still keep my set of doctors here as well that I pick and choose. But the insurance that I have, and this is why I wanted to talk about this, the insurance that I have is local insurance. Once you get local insurance, you cannot cross those state lines. And it is so hard when you have doctors in town that know nothing about sarcoidosis. And even my eye doctor, I just lost an eye doctor here in town that knew something about sarcoid. I just had my eyes checked. And he said, unfortunately, this was my last day. I just met him last week. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I was talking to my doctor today, and I actually had a doctor's appointment. I said, this is absolutely ridiculous because we have a huge regional hospital here. And then they have like clinics and smaller hospitals all over town. I said, why is it not that they don't have specialty clinics and some specialty clinics that operate here in town for people like us? It doesn't make any sense. Why can't they not do that? And we had this really big conversation today, and she said, because a lot of the doctors are traveling doctors. They come here and they leave. How ridiculous is that? So it sounds like that our hospital is like a complete training hospital. Is that what it sounds like?
Well, I think the traveling doctors are just trying to fill a resource gap. So I've talked to traveling nurses. They go around, they get assigned to a hospital for 3 months because they have shortages or whatever. So because they're traveling, that just means they're not anchored to a hospital. They get a contract for a set period of time and then go on.
Yeah, but that messes up a patient because I know that one of my friends who lives right here in town who has sarcoidosis, she is up for a double lung transplant. She
Hmm.
lost her whole set of doctors,
Oh, God,
which means she has to start over.
that's
That's
crazy.
just, yes. it, I'm like, well, that's just absolutely crazy, you know? It- like the doctor that diagnosed me 30 years ago, he does know something about sarcoid. Why can they not stay that long? I'm literally serious.
I
Why
know.
can they not stay that long? You know what I mean?
Because it's
Stay
not,
long enough, you know?
it's the same thing with staying at a company for 30 years. It's not done anymore. We may be the generation that does, but I like my son, he just changed his job like he changed his underwear and his numbers just keep going up.
Yeah, I think that is so sad, that the these things are happening in this day and age, that
Yeah,
the doctors aren't staying longer, and we're not having that decent bedside manner anymore, because people like us who have these complex health issues, we need that.
Yep.
We
agreed.
do.
We do.
Let me
I'm not
ask
going to
y'all
talk.
something.
Guys,
What besides Tylenol, what do y'all use for pain management?
I take gabapentin. Because I have neurosarc. I take gabapentin. I take 800 milligrams 3 times a day.
Yeah. I'm on gabapentin and Nucenta. Nucenta is a controlled substance for my nerves that fire. So, and the gabapentin, same thing.
I was just gonna say, yeah, me too. Gabapentin, it might be something worth looking into.
Hmm.
Yeah, because there's a possibility you may have neurosarc and not even know it.
Mhm. Which means finding another doctor, neuro.
Yes. Speaking of
Z,
that, my neuro doctors don't even
you've
treat
had a PET scan,
cardiac
right?
here. Huh?
Z, have you had a PET
What's that?
scan? You've had a PET
Yes,
scan.
I've had two, and then I'll have another one here in about 6 to 8 months.
So when you make sure your doctor or someone is reading the entire scan, not just the heart part, because that stuff will show up anywhere.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh
And
yes.
they like if you're having back issues, they may find some white material on the imaging, or it'll show up as inflammation, and that might be a early indication that you got something else going on. So the PET scan is like the gold standard, and you can find it in other places, um, wherever inflammation resides. So like I had a hernia repair, so I have a mesh under my umbilical, my belly button,
Uh-huh.
and that lights up red every time they do a PET scan. I was concerned at one point that hey, do I have sarc there? Is that where it's kind of hanging out and breeding and releasing it all over my body? But they were kind of convinced it was just normal immune activity around a foreign body. But again, it'll show up as higher uptake of radiation of sugar um, anywhere you have an issue.
Mm.
That goes for
So I
everybody.
could see where it was in my lungs. I could see it in my heart, and you know, fortunately, they didn't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, that's for everybody who does a PET scan. Make sure, as Kevin said, that whoever's reading it reads it from head to toe, because they do catch it.
Well, they only go down to your thighs, but
What, your big
You're
toe doesn't
right. You're right. That we talked about it last week, and he said it was from the head to the waist.
hurt?
yep, mid thigh.
I've never had a PET scan.
It ain't
Oh,
bad, except
Wait a
take a
minute.
diet.
I've always been denied one.
Hmm.
hmm.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, Medicare is coming up.
Do all of the PET scans do head to waist though? Because I think they're only catching like mine are only my heart and like just
Um,
surrounding the ones that I've
I
had.
I'm just going off of my experience. When I had my first 3 PET scans, they were all head to below the waist. I did ask them to go all the way down to my ankles because I was getting a lot of weird sensations and pain and, cramping and things like that. They went all the way down and they didn't find anything. So, but
Mm.
I also heard they will do just the heart because it's cheaper. Yes, Susan.
I was just going to say, Amy, like you, I have isolated cardiac sarcoidosis, recently diagnosed, and they scanned my whole body this
They
July.
did.
Yeah,
Ugh.
they scanned everything.
Yeah, I've only had the and they will say like they notice nothing because it'll catch some surrounding lymph nodes when it's just the heart, and they'll say so far that was their positive when I still had all the inflammation. Well, at least it hasn't spread to a lymph node around nearby. So, but I might need to request a more um, in-depth look at it.
Me.
This
Okay.
might be a reason why you want to go to a clinic, the hospital with a sarcoidosis clinic.
Yeah.
That's where I was denied my PET scan. Yeah.
So can you guys tell me what's the difference between a PET scan and a CAT scan?
A PET scan is you have to go on a special diet, eliminate all sugar. It's like a keto diet for the weekend. Right? No sugar, no carbs. It's all protein and fat. That reduces your blood sugar level. And then when you go in for your test, there's different protocols, but essentially they inject you with radioactive sugar, and then they'll do a CT of your body, and then they do the PET scan, which is monitoring everywhere the sugar shows up in your body. It shows up as red glowing, and the more sugar uptake, the more red it gets. And so if they can see a red spot in your heart, the inflammation is what's taking up the sugar. Your muscles, your bones, other things don't take up the sugar. So when it gets concentrated, it shows up, and they superimpose your CT scan and all the red glowy parts, and that's how you tell where in your body your inflammation was.
Okay.
I stared at mine for hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got a viewer and a computer, and I could actually go in and look at it, and
Hmm.
you know,
Mm.
Hmm.
so. All right. Does anyone have anything else to add before we wrap up the call?
Did everybody put their email into the chat?
Yes.
We have not heard from JB Thompson, but I did call on him or her. Don't know who that is or whether they're going to participate. So,
Yep. There's always the next time if they would like to come on.
yep. All right. So, well, good meeting. We meet the second Wednesday of every month. Same bat time, same bat channel.
I'll get it up on the Facebook.
Thank you
See y'all
guys
next
so
week,
much.
next month.
Thank
Good
Thank
you.
luck.
you. Thank you.
Bye, Z. Bye, Amy.
Take care.
You too.
Bye now.